This is Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck.
Hello and welcome to Into the Multiverse. I am your host, Josh Peck. Got an exciting show for you today. Have you ever heard of quantum biology? It's actually two different things. One of them is awesome and the other one is not awesome at all. There are two things that are using this term and I want to talk about those. Now, if you haven't had a chance to do so, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you click the little bell after you do. You got to tell YouTube that you actually want to be notified, and even sometimes then they won't. So YouTube is making it really difficult on people like me and even people like you to be able to watch your favorite shows. Now, if you don't get notified, new episodes of Into the Multiverse are posted on this channel, on this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Into the Multiverse, every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. So if you don't get notified, if YouTube just decides that it doesn't want you to see the episode, then you can go and check it out there. Now, quantum biology, it's a fancy sounding term. It sounds kind of awesome, and if in the right context, it is. But unfortunately, as is the case with many things quantum, other theologies like New Age have kind of hijacked the term and turned it into something that it's not. So we're going to talk about both of these things because I think they're both really interesting. Well, one of them's really interesting. One of them's, to me, boring, but it's important to know because our world is getting invaded with this kind of stuff. It already is. And just because somebody can throw the word quantum on something, it doesn't make it real. It doesn't make it anything substantial. It doesn't mean that you should pay attention to it. So we're going to talk about that. So as I said, there's two things with this term quantum biology. The first one's awesome. The second one's not. Let's talk about the first one first, of course. Quantum biology in a scientific context is it's an attempt to combine quantum mechanics with biology. It's an attempt to explain some of the stranger biological functions that science doesn't have an answer for yet using quantum mechanics. It's an exploding field. It's gaining more popularity. It's really interesting. But there are three main things that it focuses on. It focuses on photosynthesis, it focuses on the migration pattern of birds, and it even focuses on our own sense of smell. So these are the three things right now that it really deals with, and it could spread into other areas as well, but right now this is what we have to work with. So since the 1930s, scientists suspected that a quantum phenomenon was behind photosynthesis, and there's a lot of mysterious and weird things behind photosynthesis, but interestingly enough, in 2007, a team of scientists actually essentially proved, or at least found a lot of evidence towards this idea that a quantum process is behind some of the more mysterious things of photosynthesis. And this was when the field of quantum biology was essentially born. So photosynthesis, as it turns out, uses two things. It uses quantum coherence, which basically says that all parts of a wave are kind of like stuck together. You know, the whole wave is stuck together. And it also uses superposition, which we've talked about on this show before, how a particle can seemingly be in more than one place at one time, and it's because of wave function and things like that, things that we've dealt with in other episodes of Into the Multiverse, and I'm sure we'll deal with again. Now, this process is really awesome because it takes place in a billionth of a second, and it has near 100% efficiency. So it's really interesting to look at photosynthesis through the lens of quantum biology. Now, of course, there's a lot more to it than just that, but this is just a brief rundown because there's a lot of things to get through in this video, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But it certainly is something that you should look into on your own if you choose to do so, if you're interested. Now, it's been long theorized, even known, that birds use the Earth's magnetic field to navigate for migration patterns and things like that. But until recently, we didn't know all the ins and outs of that. We didn't know exactly how it worked. Turns out there's a quantum effect here too. This was something that was discovered in a 2008 experiment. It turns out that when a photon hits the retina of a bird, it splits off into two electrons. So these two unpaired electrons are released, and the spin of each orients itself to the magnetic field. Now, it's theorized that it might not just be birds who have this quantum biological biological phenomenon going on, that insects and maybe some other organisms use this same type of thing to navigate. So there are potential developments that could be made there, even technology-wise. So we'll see what the future holds, but it's certainly interesting. Now, the other area has to do with us as humans. We as humans can actually differentiate between thousands of different smells. But until recently, again, it hasn't been known how exactly that works. There have been a lot of theories, but recent experiments have actually given us more evidence on how all this works, and it's absolutely fascinating. So first, when you smell something, you're actually breathing in molecules that interact with your receptors and things. So when a molecule interacts with receptors in your nose, electrons from that molecule actually interact with the receptor through quantum tunneling. One of them stays right in front, the other one quantum tunnels through to the other side. And this is what actually sends the signal to your brain to tell you what the smell is. So recent experiments have confirmed this. We here on Into the Multiverse did an episode on quantum tunneling that you should check out. It plays a big part in why the sun shines. It may even play a part in why we age. Now, of course, us as Christians might wonder, is that connected to the curse or to the fall of Adam somehow? Maybe. So it's really interesting, and quantum biology in this context can actually help us understand God's creation more, not only from a scientific point of view, but if we're careful, maybe a theological point of view too. But again, with that, you got to be really, really careful and make sure that anything that you are coming up with actually falls in line with the Bible and not just some weird interpretation of it somewhere out there. So we got to be careful there, because we as Christians don't want to be like the New Agers. Now, I want to preface this by saying New Agers aren't our enemies per se. They're human beings. We're told by Ephesians 6:12 that we have a spiritual enemy. It's not each other. It's not other human beings, but non-believers such as New Agers or whatever. In a biblical context, are being deceived by our true enemy, which again is spiritual and satanic in nature. So you could think of them as prisoners of war, but that's why it's important for us to understand their theology, so we know what to stay away from, and we also know how to help them. So New Age theology has kind of usurped this term quantum biology and has turned it into something that it was never meant to be. And you see this a lot. There's a lot of times in a lot of New Age teachings where they will take a quantum phenomenon and try to turn it into something spiritual, or try to turn it into a teaching that's super subjective and doesn't have any basis in objective reality. So we have the same here with the New Age context of quantum biology. So this context of quantum biology, it's not based on science, it's not rooted in science, but it's actually steeped in New Age and Eastern mysticism and things like that. So there are practitioners out there. There are people out there who call themselves healers. They'll even call themselves doctors. And I don't want to name any in particular, but you can just search the web. They're all over the place. But they'll say that they can heal you through quantum biology. Actually, they word it in a really clever way. They say that they're not doing the healing. You're teaching your body to heal itself. Now, they will introduce things that are legitimate to try to help sell it to people like you and me, to Christians especially, because Christians are going to have a problem with this. So they'll use things like supplements. They'll say, vitamins and supplements and all that stuff. We do all that, and that's fine. That's great. There's good stuff there. Raw organic supplements are awesome, and we need those. Actually, right now on Skywatch TV, we're airing the Time Bomb episodes with Joe Artis Horn, and you get a bunch of good information there. But it doesn't get into this quantum New Age stuff, right? You don't need that, and it doesn't do anything, and there's no actual scientific proof that any of it works. So it goes by some differing names. There are names like, quantum medicine or quantum healing, energy medicine, stuff like that. This is stuff to stay away from. And one of the ways that you can tell is just look at the claims and then look to see if there's any experimental data, if there's any placebo tests, any clinical trials. There's not going to be. They may say there are, but if you actually go and try to find them, you can't find them anywhere because they don't exist. So that's a big tip-off. Now, I mentioned earlier how they'll try to bring in the Christian crowd, and we got to be really careful of this as Christians because they will make things sound really good. Actually, years and years and years ago, when I started falling away from the church myself. I was bored with the Bible. I was bored with church. I thought I knew everything that was in the Bible, but really I didn't know anything. But I thought that I did. New Age was really appealing to me because I didn't see it as New Age. It wasn't called New Age. I mean, it was, but the way that it was presented to me wasn't. It was presented to me as, biblical truths and things that God allows us to do. And it was really Christianish in the terminology, the books that I was reading, the people that I was talking to, basically trying to Christianize this Eastern mystic stuff. And I fell for it. It is easy to fall for, and I got into it for years, and it about ruined my life. And so I want to prevent people from falling into the same traps. So like I said, there's a lot of so-called professionals that are practicing this quantum biology thing, and they charge a lot of money for it too. If you go for a session or for a scan, you're going to be spending a lot of money. I wanted to read off a couple of quotes, and again, I'm not going to give the link. I'm not going to give information on who this particular person is or where this website is. I just kind of want to generally give you things to look out for. So I pulled a couple of quotes from one of these websites that I wanted to read to you. And notice the phrasing here. Pay special attention to the phrasing and how easy it is to think, maybe that sounds like something. Maybe there's something to this. Here's the first quote. I got two of them. Here's the first one. What has been proven but not understood by physics or modern medicine is that we do have a communication with the quantum field, which was proven to exist back in the 1960s. This field has been mentioned for thousands of years. The Chinese call it qi. The Indians call it Purana. Christians call it the Holy Spirit. It is a field of infinite energy and infinite knowledge. Now, real quick, there is no such thing as the quantum field that they're talking about here. There's actually dozens of quantum fields, and people who follow this show already know that. Now, quantum field theory is hard to get our heads around, and it's really hard to understand, but we can kind of get the basic idea. It basically says that reality is composed of quantum fields interacting with one another, and that's what a particle is. But you'll know when somebody is just kind of using these terms to make something up because you can tell they don't have a full grasp on it. Even just saying the quantum field, there's no such thing. There's not one quantum field. There's many of them. There's dozens, at least, if not more. So then look at the other part of that line that it snuck in there, that physics knows, but we haven't proven or whatever, that we communicate with this quantum field. No, we don't. We interact with many quantum fields, but that's not the same as communication. For example, mass is really just an interaction with the Higgs field. So the reason that you have substance, the reason you have mass, your particles have mass, is because they interact with the Higgs field, and the Higgs field is that interaction is the mass. It's not that the Higgs field is giving mass. The Higgs boson certainly doesn't give mass, but the Higgs field itself, when a particle interacts with it, that's why it has mass. That's how a photon can be a massless particle. It can be a particle that still exists, but has no mass. It means that it doesn't interact with the Higgs field. So a lot of these New Age people that are, they're posing as doctors, but a lot of these New Age people, they will use these terms to try to confuse you and make it sound like they have something good. But pay attention to the rest of what was written there in the quote. And I'm actually surprised that they started off with the chi and the Indians' prana, because usually when Christians read that, they get uncomfortable. But notice how it said, because usually they'll start off with the Christian stuff. Jesus called it this, or Christians call it this. But notice, it says Christians call it the Holy Spirit. Now, I wouldn't want to condemn anybody of anything, but I would say that falls dangerously close to the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. I wouldn't want anything to do with that. I would not ever call it that. And I mean, on this show, you can look back at all the episodes, and there are lots of times we talk about quantum fields. I believe they're a creation of God, sure. Everything in existence is. But actually trying to say that is the Holy Spirit, it's blasphemous. It's not true. It's not biblical. It's not real. And we should be staying away from it. Now, the last line in there, it's a field of infinite, let me read it. It is a field of infinite energy and infinite knowledge. No, it's not. No, it is not. No quantum field is, because you can't have infinity in physical reality. We've done shows on that before too. How in the Bible, eternity and infinity are two different concepts. Infinity is more of a mathematical anomaly. It's a mathematical thing. It just goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. But it's not rooted in actual physical reality. Like, for example, pi is a fraction. Pi is a fraction. It's a real thing. But it's a calculation. It's a real mathematical thing. In nature, it's just how we classify something. It's how we describe something. It's like the number 2. You don't find, this is going to sound ridiculous at first, but stay with me. You don't find the number 2 in nature. Now you can find 2 things. I have 2 pieces of paper here. You can have 2 things, but that's just how we classify it. That's how we number it. That's how we understand the difference between this one thing and this other thing. You can have 2 things, but the actual number 2 as a concept, just as a physical thing, doesn't exist. So it's just words that we put on other things to give them meaning. Pi is like that, infinity is like that, but it doesn't actually have physical meaning or physical reality to it. So eternity, in a biblical sense, is the state outside of time. It's the state of being outside of time, where you're not measuring things by time anymore. Infinity is something totally different. Infinity is never ending, and in a sense is not real. Now, sure, if you're talking about God or something like that, you can use that term infinity and it's fine, because he's never ending, he's all these things. But in physical reality, we have things like entropy, things break down, things change, things degrade, things end, things die. So infinity doesn't work. Even in quantum fields, they can degrade too. We actually did a whole episode on Into the Multiverse about destroyers of the multiverse. Actually, we did 2. It was a 2-part thing. Destroyers of the multiverse, and that was to celebrate our first year of the show at the end of it. So you can check that out for more information on how even quantum fields can degrade and be destroyed. But when they use terminology like that, then you know that there's something funny about it, because like an actual scientist, an actual physicist wouldn't say things like that. Usually physicists are real careful about the way they phrase things, unless they're trying to push New Age theology. Then they'll be a little bit more loose with it. Now I want to read you one more quote here before we close out the show, because again, these are things that you can look out for. This is another way how you can tell that it's like some wonky kind of stuff. It says, hands-on manipulation for a healer is the oldest healing traditions. We add this treatment other modalities that have proven to be effective. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. No, they haven't. There is no proof that this is effective, because there's no clinical trials. There's no placebo trials or anything like that. It's not proven. This is just something that somebody is saying and claiming. Continuing on, chakra activation is achieved by utilizing sound and Ayurvedic healing oils. Now, see right there, in that same sentence, they mix chakras with healing oils. Now, a lot of people are into essential oils. My wife is into them. Shoot, I'm probably into them too. They're nice things to have in the house, and they help with a variety of things. But chakras, that's a totally new age teaching. It's this idea that you have power centers that go up your spine, essentially, that if you activate them through meditation, then you can achieve nirvana, where you can do things like astral travel and stuff like that. It's, there's no real one solid teaching on chakras, but it's not Christian. It's not based on anything real or even biblical or even in the wildest interpretations of Bible passages. You're not going to find this stuff. So it's not Christian. But even outside of that, it's just not real. There's no experimental data. There's no medical testing. There's nothing like that. It's just various interpretations of other things. So chakras are a thing that we as Christians, and really just we as logical human beings, should be staying away from. Continuing on, then we add the patient's request electromagnetic specific frequencies by resolving specific pain problems. Electromagnetic energy is healing according to work by certain orthopedic surgeons. This latter treatment modality is mostly under is mostly underused in all society. It's effective and scientific and no side effects. For one thing, that's not even a well-constructed sentence. Like I'm trying to, like, as I'm quoting it, I'm trying to like add certain ands and commas in there so you can at least understand it, but it's poorly written. But even outside of that, no side effects. Okay, how is that possible? But they're claiming that it's effective and that it's mostly underused in all society. Yeah, I wonder why, because it's not real. But this is all stuff that you got to really watch out for. So that is quantum biology from a new age perspective, from a new age healing type of perspective. And it has nothing to do with science. There is actually a really cool field of science called quantum biology, and there are a couple physicists that have talked about it and have made some really cool discoveries and stuff. And so I highly recommend people check that out because it's really interesting. But the second, if it starts to get new agey, or if it's, I mean, you'll know it right away if it does, then that's something to stay away from. So I hope that has helped. If you haven't had a chance to do so, make sure you subscribe, like I said earlier. Subscribing helps you, subscribing helps me, it helps our whole multiverse family. I didn't really mean to rhyme those words, but so there's that. I don't know how good of a pitch that was to subscribe, but you should do so. And if YouTube doesn't notify you, this is why it's important to click the little bell, but if it doesn't notify you, just keep in mind that Into the Multiverse, I put up these episodes every Thursday morning at 9 a.m., so that's when you can get new episodes. And shortly after they air here on YouTube, they also go out to Vimeo and Roku and a whole bunch of other places that you can find. So all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care and God bless.
As many as 80% of Americans are carrying a time bomb. A medical crisis in their bodies right now, unaware that they will soon develop prolonged chronic illness, autoimmune disease, or even cancer. Today's frightening truth is citizens are being poisoned every single day without their knowledge. A health epidemic largely brought on by industrialized food is destroying our genetics and immune systems through deadly modified organisms, carcinogenic materials, and life-threatening chemicals commonly found in most of today's processed groceries. Coming this April in the groundbreaking new book, Time Bomb, by Joe Ardis Horn and Ali Anderson. You'll be put in charge of your health once again as commercial marketing games are exposed, and the expose of the year unveils how easy it is to avoid toxic ingredients, identify organic and safe foods, and make healthy eating affordable. You will learn how neuroscience is confirming an amazing gut-brain connection that holds the key to maintaining physical, hormonal, emotional, and mental wellness. With powerful insights from health professionals for maintaining superior physiology and reversing chronic illness without a weight loss diet. Time Bomb is set to become your most important field guide for avoiding a national health epidemic more pervasive than anyone could have ever imagined. Time Bomb, coming this April.
There is a genocide of deadly processed foods happening right now in the United States, creating a health epidemic more pervasive than anyone ever imagined. But now, you can arm yourself with the knowledge to keep you and your family from becoming its next victim. Skywatch TV is proud to announce the Time Bomb special offer. When you order Time Bomb from the Skywatch TV store, you'll also receive the Time Bomb Companion DVD. This incredible DVD includes special, never-before-released, off-the-record interviews with healthcare professionals like Dr. Ralph Umbriaco, Dr. Joshua Vance, and Dr. Matthew Sams on the current food crisis in the U.S., and tips on how to achieve your optimal physiological health. This DVD is nearly 5 hours in length and also includes the entire Skywatch TV Time Bomb television series with Joe Horn, Ali Anderson, and Derek Gilbert. But that's not all. You'll also receive Eat This and Live for Kids. This colorful, fully illustrated book by Dr. Don Colbert walks you step by step through how to begin teaching your kids to love the foods that will love them back. While out shopping, how to avoid deadly toxins in many common kids' foods and household products, what to feed your kids from preschool to preteen, healthy snacks they will love, and what supplements they'll desperately need, and so much more. But the health epidemic isn't just limited to humankind. Also included in this unbelievable special offer, Joe Artis Horn's best-selling book, The Dead Pets Don't Lie Expose, and companion DVD. This shocking book and DVD collection sounds the alarm on the scandalous practices of the commercial pet food industry. Learn how the FDA is allowing big scams where detestable, poisonous pet foods are being passed off as healthy and causing pets to die prematurely. You'll learn everything you need to know in order to quickly read pet food labels and allow your pet to avoid these toxic ingredients. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of over $100. Yours now for a donation of only $30 plus shipping and handling. Take control today. The Time Bomb special offer is your field guide to avoiding the deadly processed foods and ingredients that are creating a massive wave of health crisis in America. This information covers every member of the family, the adults, children, and even our pets. Begin transforming how you and your family eat and live now. The Time Bomb special offer. Order now at the Skywatch TV store online or call 844-750-4985.